Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Back to the Blockbuster with your hosts, Gaius and Jackson. We got an exciting one today. As of recording this episode, the Oscars were last night, Sunday, March the 10th. And I wish I had thought to write down which, like the number of the award ceremony, like what year it was, like the 90 or 80th,
96.
96.
6, yeah.
96 Academy Awards were last night, and it was quite the show. We really haven't chatted offline what our individual thoughts were. We haven't shared our scores with each other, so that will all come to you guys sort of live as we're doing this. I'm excited to see what you thought of the show, what you thought of the various talked about moments from the show, what you thought of Jimmy Kimmel hosting, how you did with your own predictions. Lots to get into in this episode too.
Yeah.
Overall, though, I thought it was kind of a return to form for the show after a couple dismal back-to-back years throughout the pandemic. I don't know what your thoughts were. Any initial thoughts that you wanted to get off your chest?
Yeah, no, I thought it was actually really entertaining and it moves pretty quick.
It did.
I like the hour earlier start. I thought that fared well because like here it started at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so that was
right.
Great.
8
It was interesting because
yeah,
after it was over, they re-aired it. Like basically re-aired it again. They did like the Abbott Elementary episode aired after it, and then they aired the Oscars again after that.
Oh, okay.
And I was just so happy that we were able to get it out early. And and it was one of those things too, because like the last few Sundays I've been going out with friends and everything, and everyone was texting me Sunday like, oh, like let's go out. And I was like, oh, I gotta watch the Oscars.
Not on Oscar night, no.
And they were like, oh, they'll turn it on at like whatever place we're gonna go to. And I was like, see, but I'll be a nerd and like want to pay attention to it, and you guys will just be, throwing back drinks while I'm trying to watch. And I didn't want to do that. So I was happy that was early, and then I got to like, I was on my page and our page across like
you were
TikTok
spamming
and
for
Twitter.
Sure. It was great that you were putting out all the wins.
Putting on the wins. I put like some videos on our TikTok page too, and it was just nice to do that early and where it didn't feel late. And like, I didn't feel tired. I was like energetic for it. So that's why it's another reason I had started early. And I thought overall too, it was a return to form too. I think most critics felt that way. I mean, I think some people can be nitpicky about, and I'm sure we will too, about like what jokes landed and what didn't. But like the show itself was mostly a celebration of just the movies. It didn't get political until like towards the end, and that political joke was kind of funny with the whole like
Jimmy
Trump,
Kimmel reading Trump's tweet.
Yeah. I thought that was actually funny and a good on the spot thing. Apparently, he asked the producers if he could do it, and they were like, "Don't do it." But they had like a little time, and he's like, "I want to do it."
Oh, wow! Oh, okay.
That probably Brazen. And it probably landed the best of the stuff that he did. The room seemed to really love it.
Yep.
So we'll probably get in a little bit more detail about him overall, but I thought that it was good and funny, and there weren't a lot of surprises. I guess the only real surprise came down to like the lead actress category, where it was like it could have been either one, right?
I guess like I didn't say I didn't consider it surprising because one of the two who were definites won. I guess like I don't know how I felt. Like I honestly didn't know who, even to the last moment, if it was going to be Lily Gladstone or Emma Stone. But it was definitely going to be one of those two. So I was like, did you feel the same way, or did you really think Lily had it in the bag?
I did. I picked her, and I remember I did pick Emma Stone as should win. But right. I did pick Lily Gladstone because I really thought she had it. But it's interesting. The stuff that's come out today is kind of reminiscent of what we've been talking about a little bit all seasons about her, was whether or not she should have campaigned as a lead in Killers of the Flower Moon or supporting. And I guess the rumblings at all these like after parties last night after the Oscars from a lot of people that were like talking about it were that she should have campaigned as supporting and not lead. And then people were still debating that today. She is technically the female lead, but then they broke down her screen time compared to Leo's. I think she has, like they said, 56 minutes of screen time in a 3.5 hour movie, and he has like an hour 40 something. And then I think Robert De Niro has 3 minutes less than her, and he went supporting, right? So it really, people were arguing back and forth. Yes, she's the female lead, but in the movie is kind of like she's the heart of the movie, so maybe that's why she should have gone lead. But everyone's like, but no, given the screen time, it's very much a supporting actress performance. But then they said it was also more of a thing regarding her future as a movie star. Like she went lead because she wanted to be taken seriously as a lead actress. So there's a lot of other reasons that she
Mm.
went that way. It would have been interesting if she went supporting, because I don't think it wouldn't have been a clean sweep, I think, for Divine Joy Randolph if Lily
Who
Gladstone was in
knows? Yeah,
supporting.
I agree.
Yeah, yeah.
Would have been a different
But
award season run up.
I'm still on the fence about whether or not she should have or not. Like, would have, I don't know. I mean, what they said came out of it is that clearly the Academy liked Poor Things more than people thought, and
Right.
that they put their support fully behind Emma Stone. And SAG has a lot of the same members, but they kind of think that the SAG actors went with the narrative for Lily Gladstone as it making history, which is why they gave her the SAG win for lead
Okay.
actress, and a bunch of other reasons. I mean, it just sucks because they're really breaking down who gave a better performance, and they're so different. Like we talked about before, they're not
It's kind of apples to
same at
oranges,
all.
right?
I
Yeah, it's
mean,
hard to compare these things.
Emma Stone's performance is pure. It's physicality. Like there's a lot going on there, right? But
For sure.
Lily Gladstone is, some of it is more subtle and a bit more. It's not as these like grand theatrics in a lot of her scenes, but still powerful. Right. So I don't know. I doubt she's gonna. My thing is Lily Gladstone is probably destined to win an Oscar very soon. Like
that much, I think, is guaranteed for sure. She took it all in stride, took it like a champ. Great, put out a great performance. It was at least recognized by the Academy in her nomination, which is still huge. Still going to be a boost for anyone's career, right? To have that acclaim behind a performance. So, what I don't want to see is like that her performance be overshadowed just because she didn't win. And I also kind of, not gonna lie, I do feel a little bad for Emma Stone, who like I feel like can't like fully enjoy her win. That it feels almost like stained that so many people are upset for Lily Gladstone. I've seen it touted around that Lily Gladstone was robbed for not winning. I don't think that's the case at all. I don't think she was robbed by any means. Both ladies put in a fantastic lead performance. We just can only have one winner. Emma Stone's performance was marvelous in Poor Things. So I hope she's really fully celebrating that win, and I still think it was very deserved. Whoever was on that stage, I think, deserved it. There was really no clear winner in my opinion, but
I don't think I really don't think she expected to win. Her reaction, very surprised. Yeah, she looks very surprised. So, and then I kind of agree with you on that too. They are kind of. I've seen some people saying that Lily needed more than Emma. Is that they're creating that kind of narrative, and of course the other narrative of like, well, she's already won before. So it should have been someone else's time. But like,
I don't agree with that, honestly.
I don't either. I mean, she clearly deserved it. I won't say that Lily Gladstone was robbed. I don't think so. I mean, now if someone less deserving that category would have won, I would have been like, oh, well, that didn't see that coming or whatever. But it really came down to these two people that were the front runners in that category all season, and they traded off winning various things. Now, it was interesting, though. This is one of the years where the BAFTAs got this pretty much right. Their wins for the BAFTA Awards pretty much coincided with like every way the Oscars went last night.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they didn't even nominate Lily Gladstone, and they gave for a BAFTA. So there was all these reasons why a lot of people thought Lily Gladstone may not have won last night, even before the Oscars were going to happen yesterday. And it really was a down the wire. Like, I mean, like I said, I picked her. I wasn't upset that Emma Stone won though.
Right.
Her speech was great. I mean, because she seems like she's just like the rest of us. Like, there's nothing like movie star about Emma Stone to me. Like, she seems very much like any one of us would be if we got up there and were surprised and didn't know what to say.
You mean like her personality and like her demeanor and stuff? Yeah, I agree with that too.
So I guess that would be the only like surprise, but there are other like funny little things that happen. I guess we can start with the overall opening monologue and what you thought of Jimmy Kimmel coming out of the gate last night.
Yeah, honestly, like I haven't rewatched the monologue yet. I'm sure I'll like take the time to watch it again sometime this week. I like Jimmy Kimmel. Although this is what his 5th time hosting.
Yeah, somewhere in there. I think
somewhere in there. He's done it multiple times.
Yeah.
This year more than others, I felt he kind of phoned it in a bit. That was just kind of my approach. He was very like palatable. He wasn't a bad host by any means. I just kind of felt like it was like putting on an old glove. He did have some jokes that didn't really land for me. I'm not the only one that feels this way. I've seen other people share this, like and I know that most of these, if not all of the jokes and digs, are probably pre-approved with actors, but I really thought his quips at Robert Downey Jr. kind of felt mean-spirited and like low-hanging fruit for him to like pick on him of all people in his like very infamous, drug abusing past on what ended up being a massive night for his career. I just don't really think that was necessary. And now maybe like one or two of those quips, sure, but like it kind of felt like he was picking on him. And now Robert Downey Jr.
It going.
Yeah, he kept it going way longer than it really needed to be. And Robert Downey Jr., to his credit, took it off the chin. No, nothing he hasn't heard before, no doubt. But like that really rubbed me the wrong way. Not that it like ruined my opinion of Jimmy Kimmel, but I was like, really? Like, why of all people in the room are we focusing on that? That was just one nitpick I had about his monologue. But honestly, I don't really remember many of the highlights from his monologue. Just saw it the one time. But what did you think about the opening?
No, that was one of the things I did want to bring up because that became a big, like, right after, because like, when I'm watching, I'm also like on all our social media, like trying to like refreshing and like doing all this stuff, right? So like having to multitask. And as soon as that joke came out, like a lot of people were very upset about it. And Robert Downey Jr. himself has made fun of his past. He even did it kind of during his speech when he won.
He's entitled to make fun of it at his own desire, right?
Yeah. So that's the point that someone made. They said that he is a past addict. He had these past issues. They are his problems. He should be able to make fun of himself. But when someone else does it, it can come off mean spirited. And like, I think he handled it well. I think he did the whole like jokingly, the whole like wrap it up kind of gesture to Jimmy Kimmel. And to his wife's credit, I was looking at her sitting next to him. She was like, she didn't look embarrassed or like, oh, why is it still going? She was still kind of laughing and going along with it. I mean, I think at this point they're pros and they realize the camera is like on them in those moments, right? So they don't want to get too see like they're taking it too seriously. But yeah, I thought it was a little bit low hanging. It's an easy joke to make.
Exactly.
And honestly, Robert Downey Jr. doesn't make and Robert Downey Jr. doesn't love when people bring it up. I mean, I don't know if you ever seen that back in the day. I think it was for Age of Ultron. He was doing press for that movie. And honestly, when you do these kind of interviews, you're told in advance what you can and can't ask. So I'm pretty sure they were like, don't ask him anything about his past. But this interviewer did anyway. And he cut him off like right at the knees. It was like, hey, like we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the movie. And the guy kept talking about it.
Did he leave?
He shut it down. And that's what you're supposed to do. Either you do it or your publicist does it. And he chose to shut it down. And
good. I did not know about
because
that,
he's not defined by these things that he did a long time ago. And at this time, it's been so long since he's had issues that it's I don't even think it should be a topic of discussion anymore. But I even saw that you posted something too. A lot of people were posting these comparisons of like what his life was before,
right?
And compared to like this big achievement that he had last night. And I think comparing it in that way is fine. I think that's a good way to bring it up.
Right.
And like, see how far someone can come.
And that's the spirit it was intended. Like, look at, how much he's turned around. Great moment for his career. Even well before his Oscar, his career was definitely on for years and years now was on a different trajectory. But just like a nice crowning moment that really, if it wasn't already, him winning that award really solidified that, he's surmounted so much more. He's so much more than just that pass, which was annoying that it was in focus for as long as it was. But
and other than that, I was I liked that Jimmy Kimmel brought up the whole strikes thing, and then also like standing in solidarity and all that. I thought that was good, and got a big standing ovation from the crowd. Some of the jokes were good, and some of them weren't. I think I would give him like a B- overall, which is not horrible. I mean, it's hard to like run a show like that. I try to understand that.
No doubt. That's a good point to keep in mind. I think B- is a good score. I honestly, I wish I'd thought to done that to really rank and
I just did it at the moment right now. So it wasn't like
nice.
I'm just thinking about it like in hindsight. I mean, like the whole like tequila bit with Guillermo is kind of funny. I mean, and it's funnier if you watch his show because the stuff with Guillermo is actually pretty funny on his late night show.
Yeah, he's a good wingman.
And I like that he kind of mispronounced some of their names and then like pointed out that Charlize Theron was like his wife. I thought that stuff was kind of funny. And but yeah, I mean, compared to like Joe Coy, the Golden Globes, like Jimmy Kimmel was
Oh, I forgot about that for a moment. Oh boy, yeah,
way better. And like I think some people commented on G Rules that they thought he played it safe, and I probably was the best thing for him to do. We were coming off of a year where there were like 2 strikes and the industry was like kneecapped again.
yeah.
And then they're probably wondering like, oh, is this just gonna be about the movies? Are they gonna everyone assumes that Hollywood, since it's mostly liberal, that they'll want to talk about politics and all that stuff too. And he shied away from that, and I thought that was a good thing, for the most part. So if it was safe, it probably felt that way for a reason, but that was probably the best thing to do for the event. So
I agree,
I
and the attendees at that show, when they do sort of like are on their high horse and are using it's good. Don't get me wrong, it's great for very influential people to use a platform such as that to bring attention to major issues and people that aren't really aware of what's going on, to spread awareness on these things. But I feel like it's not, they're kind of like, they're not taken seriously when they do really preach political issues. So it was kind of a relief for them to just sort of appreciate the
yeah
moment and the recognition for their performances and their awards, rather than use it to be complete, you know, um,
yeah
avenues for, for a certain message. However, when appropriate, as in the case of Jonathan Glazer and his win for Zone of Interest and Best International Feature,
yeah
that I want to hear what you think about his speech. It was pretty quick. It was brief. He did have it pre-planned, which I think the winners were sort of like advised not to do this year, like to read off papers, like to have pre-written speeches.
probably because they wanted to probably didn't want it to run long
Right.
and like other issues. I actually glad you brought that up too, because I saw that there was a big uproar
Well, people are
about his
calling it
speech.
controversial. I'm like, considering the nature of the zone of interest, I felt his acceptance speech was completely justified. It would have been odd for him not to sort of mention like the
Right.
legacy of that movie and the legacy that the Holocaust has on the present day and what's going on in Israel and Gaza. It would have felt
Yeah.
weird for it not to be
Weird not
recognized,
to
or like a
mention it.
missed opportunity. Yeah. So I thought it was
Well,
great. You could tell how nervous he was reading it, though. Could you see his paper shaking while he was
yeah, he
delivering
was
that speech?
shaking. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do want to point out that someone broke it down, and I'm glad someone actually did, because certain trades jumped on it in a really negative way. And this person said Glazer's speech was initially badly misquoted by some sources, including Variety, which led to confusion about whether he had refuted his Jewishness full stop. This particularly met with conservative backlash, as when Meghan McCain, daughter of the late Senator John McCain, and A. Foxman, former head of the Anti-Defamation League, each incorrectly cited Glazer as refuting his Jewishness. Several Jewish organizations argue that Glazer himself was actually hijacking the Holocaust. And then they said what Glazer actually said is much clearer. He and his collaborators reject what Jewishness and the Holocaust are being used to justify the ongoing military offensive in Gaza. This sentiment is one held by many Jewish people. Like Glazer, Jews around the world have spoken out about how they perceive their identity to have been co-opted by the extremist Israeli government and its allies in pursuit of a fully repressed Palestine state, one that many Jewish people, from liberal proponents of a two-state solution to the campaigners of the Not in My Name movement, are no longer support. So they were really upset that people jumped on it and took what he said and interpreted it wrong. And they're glad that now today a lot of people were kind of backtracking on that and saying, well, I think this is what he meant. So at least they're reporting that part of it now too, rather than because once that speech landed, like he was getting attacked fully on social media, like quickly. And that's what
Right.
happens when these things are like live and people don't really take into consideration, like really listen to what someone says,
Yeah,
hear what
100%.
hear what they want to hear, and that's exactly what they did with him. But I'm glad there were some trades that broke it down a bit more.
In their defense too, like I can't lie, I didn't exactly understand what he meant when he said that him and his collaborators refute their Jewishness. Like I kind of knew what he was getting at with the entirety of the speech, but that one line, I was like, I don't know if I understand what he means by that. But I
Yeah,
didn't think that he was denouncing that and rejecting his Jewish nature. Like, you know what I mean? I didn't think that's what it
yeah,
was,
yeah,
but I can't lie. I said I was a little like unsure of what it meant. So I get why some people may have misinterpreted it because it wasn't. But I feel like his entire speech as a whole was quite clear what his message was about the things that are going on over there. But that was one political natured moment that I felt was justified, especially considering what the zone of interest was about. But on a completely different note, I actually got that one wrong. I didn't think I should have just guessed that I thought zone of
for
interest would win international. Yeah, I don't know. It was
I
the
thought
only
you would
one
go
in
with
the
that too.
category. I should have, and there's been categories like that where I've only seen one of the nominees, and it would make sense for me to vote for it. But I was like, oh, it's up for a lot of others too. Like, surely some of these other movies that are only nominated once might stand a better chance. I don't know. Should have though. But I went with Italy's submission. I won't bother butchering the pronunciation, but that was a random sort of guess. I didn't really know what would win, but kind of disappointed when Zone of Interest was called. I was like, fuck, I should have voted that.
Well, speaking of what we picked, I guess that's a good time to bring up
definitely
how many we got right. Was it of 23 categories?
That's right.
Do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
I'll start by saying I didn't jot down my score from last year, but I think just on memory, I think I went 17 for 23 for last year. I did do worse this year with a final tally of 14 for 23. What did you do?
You beat me by one.
Oh,
I got 13.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I got 13. So where I got, I guess where some of us got screwed over, the ones that we did on the show, like original screenplay, I went with my heart rather than what would. I honestly thought they would pick. I honestly thought Past Lives had a good shot at winning that one.
So did I. I got both screenplays wrung, which I was kind of upset about. I liked the winner, so I'm happy with that.
Glad I went with the American Fiction, even though I said, I think I will and should with Barbie, but I was glad that American Fiction won. It was stuff like that, and then it was honestly the categories that kind of screwed me over were the three that Poor Things won in, which was costume design, production design, and there was one other one I think that they won. Oh no, actually those two were the ones that really.
Okay.
I actually picked them for makeup. I almost picked Maestro and then switched last minute.
Nice. I picked it was for makeup as well.
It was the costume design and production design, which I thought would both go to Barbie. And
I also got those wrong. I voted Barbie as well.
So that screwed me up early on, and those were the Poor Things awards were three in a row. They
that's right.
They announced them all back to back, and I went online too. A lot of people were shocked, but they weren't like mad that Poor Things won because they did have good production design.
Oh, absolutely.
There's some good costumes, but I thought Barbie had very inventive, both costumes and production design as well. So I thought it was going to win that, but did not. So I got screwed pretty early on.
Me too.
And then of course, like the animated short, live action short, did not get any of those right. Documentary short didn't get that right. Documentary feature, I almost picked the one that won, which was I guess another one that got a little political. The 20 Days in Mariupol that won.
Yeah.
Mariupol that one, which I actually liked his speech too. Thought it was really good.
I only got that one right because last year they also went with a Ukraine documentary short too with the Navalny. I don't know if it was a documentary short, but it was like another one of those categories. I was like, I wonder if since it's such a hot topic around the world and in geopolitics. So that was really the basis for my vote, and I happened to get that one right. So I was like, okay, bonus.
Another major one that we did on this show that you got right that I got wrong was animated feature. You picked The Boy and the Heron, and that won.
Yes,
I guess Shamik Moore put Robbed. He was online because he's the voice of Miles Morales in Spider-Verse movies, and he got some flack for it, and he quickly took it down and apologized. But he wasn't the only one that felt that way. There were a lot of people that went online and thought that while they respect who's the filmmaker that did The Boy and the Heron, I want to screw up.
Hayao Miyazaki.
Yeah, they respect him as his creativity, but they kind of felt like this movie wasn't up to par with the other stuff that he's done, and that Across the Spider-Verse is better, and that should have won. I thought it was going to win, but you went with The Boy and the Heron.
I went with my gut. Yeah. I'll make a case for the people that supported Spider-Man over it. I'm going to say automatically, I know whether people admit it or not, the Across the Spider-Verse is definitely a more accessible movie, especially for American and there's Western audiences in general. Although I even saw The Boy and the Heron the English dub version in theaters. So it's not that like the Japanese language is like the barrier, although it might be for people that didn't have that option. It's, you know, it's Spider-Man versus an obscure Japanese, you know, animated movie. So I get there's already a bigger audience for Spider-Man, and I already know that is why some people vote for that, and it makes sense to vote for the ones that you've seen if you haven't seen the other favorite in the category or any of the other nominees. But that being said, but in their defense, I will admit and agree that the animation, purely like the art style in Across the Spider-Verse and like the way like the comic book inspired animation is definitely more original and like arguably more impressive than Hayao Miyazaki's work, because it's the same animation that all of his movies, they all look like that. They are beautiful and painstaking to make and absolutely incredible. Don't get me wrong. It's not what I'm saying, but as far as the movies go, I like them probably just the same amount. But I had a feeling, my gut, why I went with that. I have a huge soft spot for Hayao, but it being like touted as probably his last movie, his swan song, I thought maybe some more like some of the Academy voters would take that in consideration and sort of, you know, give him that on his way out. And he also won Spirited Away back in 2000 or 2001. He'd also won for that same category, and he was absent from both ceremonies, which I was disappointed to find out. I was hoping he would have been there.
Is he like reclusive, or is it just a?
I don't know.
I don't know much about him.
I don't know much about really. I know a couple things about the guy, but as far as like, I don't know if it's common for him to be absent from big award shows when his movies are up for them. That part I really didn't know. I was hoping to see him tonight, but I did learn that he wasn't at his other movie that had won, you know, a couple of decades earlier. But I'm thinking, you know, the guy lives in Japan. It's definitely a long trek for sure. He's old. I think he's in his 70s, if not his 80s. So, you know, I guess I understand that, but that was that was an interesting category. I felt very happy for him when that one was called. A big one too. I can't remember what you voted for cinematography, but I got that one wrong. I went to Oppenheimer. I voted with for Poor Things. What did you put for that one?
I ended up going with Oppenheimer, but nice. I almost picked Poor Things. But
I'm happy for Oppenheimer. I'm not mad, but I was like, I just thought it'd be a good one for Poor Things to win, because I figured Oppenheimer would pick up a lot of the awards. So
one technical one that people were like surprised that it lost was sound, and I thought when I watched Zone of Interest, one of the things that I took from it, and I know I need to letterbox all of my. I'm going to do that all tonight with scores for because I haven't had time to do it. But the one thing that I took from that movie, other than the few other things I thought were great about it, the sound design on Zone of Interest was incredible.
Absolutely.
And I was like, and not to say that Oppenheimer didn't have great sound either, but I thought it was clearing away a better case of that.
Okay,
but a lot of people thought, but a lot of people thought they should have gotten Oppenheimer, and they were surprised that Zone of Interest won. So I was a little shocked that was the consensus from people online a bit.
That was a pick I got right. I think though the reason, like my logic for picking Zone of Interest for sound is like that was like that movie's strongest case, like because it is like a different sort of movie. It's very much like that fly on the wall approach. It's not action oriented or dialogue oriented. It's very much like the camera sitting with our like the cast at various different points. It's not a talky movie. It's very different. But the biggest part of that movie to me was the sound design. So I thought because it's such a strong component of the movie, maybe that will get recognized. And it was also up for less. I was just thinking maybe that could be the reason, but was happy that I chose that. Another one that I was very happy for its category, I didn't know what you ended up voting for, but got this one correct, was visual effects going to Godzilla. I was so split on the creator and Godzilla, but at last moment decision, I just gave it to Godzilla simply because of the budget they were working with. So really, really happy that movie got recognized. But what did you put for, what was your guess for visual effects?
I went with Godzilla as well.
Oh, nice.
And there's someone, again, that's someone I follow. I think I kind of like hate follow this person, so I won't mention them here because we follow each other. Okay. But like sometimes he has some really like hot takes on Twitter X or whatever. Yeah. And he was saying like he picked Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and made it clear that's what he wanted to win. And that it would be no contest, because you shouldn't, just because a movie is an underdog like Godzilla doesn't mean you need to pick it. And like clearly the best case of visual effects was Guardians of the Galaxy. And my thing was like the flip side of that is you have less money and you made that work and look just as good as a $200 million movie. So
I would say
there's that.
even better.
Yeah.
The biggest standout to me during that segment, which I thought was super cool. I don't know if it didn't. I don't remember if they had done this in previous years. Maybe they did, but I it looked new to me when I was watching it. But they were showing the kind of the breakdown of the effects behind the scenes for a few seconds for each nominee. Do you remember that?
Right. Yeah.
So they were showing. I don't even know. I wouldn't even bother getting into the techno babble and the terms of what we were seeing, but it would show these cool images being layered on top of each other for all the nominees, and like Guardians of the Galaxy's moment was literally just the actors there standing in front of a blue screen. I was like, not that like the movie doesn't look good. I didn't see it, but obviously the effects in the Marvel movies are, well, I mean, they're hit or miss in a lot of them, but the Guardians ones look great. But it just doesn't seem like even the same ballpark when you look at like a movie like The Creator or Godzilla. So I was like, clear that would have been the one I would have voted for last.
Yeah.
It's funny though, I hear everybody say that.
Yeah, and then I follow someone else that was more positive. They were happy that it won. They personally voted for The Creator. That's what they went with, but they were still happy that Godzilla won. And I thought they was cool. They were all excited. I think they all had like miniature like Godzillas in their hands and
yes,
stuff,
and their shoes too. Had
and
Godzilla
their shoes,
claws. Like, yeah.
So like is why the Oscars can be fun, because it's like people like that who are less jaded, I think, than like movie stars who get nominated a lot. Like for these people, it's like this is a big deal for them to.
Yes.
This movie kind of came out of nowhere. At least here, it kind of was supposed to be this like 2-week engagement, or if that, and then it made a decent amount of money and they extended it, and then all of a sudden it was talked about as being on the short list for visual effects, and then it led to them winning. So I think that's a great outcome for them.
Great story for that movie, and hopefully it'll sort of boost it in its post theatrical run and maybe lead to some more viewing on when it comes to streaming. Maybe it already is on streaming. I have no idea, but that'll be a copy of a movie that I cannot wait to get my hands on and watch again, because it was literally amazing. I cannot wait to watch Godzilla -1 again. I hope they do another one, honestly. That team though who made that movie was incredible. So hopefully this catapults them into doing some more stuff, even in the Godzilla movies too.
Universe. And Godzilla has an Oscar now, which is like good for him.
Is that like the first?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's quite impressive. Very happy for that movie. I mean, I would have loved, because I mean, anybody listening that's sticks with us knows how much I'm on The Creator. I would have loved for that movie to have come home with an Oscar, especially in visual effects, because that movie looked fantastic. And I'm sure both of those movies are going to be a big part of our conversation later this month when we're talking about budgets and a special episode coming up. But both of those movies, very, very impressive technically in their effects. But anyway, not mad at all. Even though I would have loved The Creator to get recognized, I think the nomination is a great step for that movie anyway. So props to Godzilla and that team.
I agree. So when it comes down to original songs, so this is the first time you actually heard all the original songs, like while watching the show, other than like, I guess the Barbie ones you heard because you've seen the movie.
Exactly. I haven't heard all. I would have heard in previous years watching the ceremony all the songs performed live, but Barbie was one of the only movies I really saw any of the nominations from. So those are the only ones I really saw performed in the movie.
Yeah, so I hadn't heard The Fire Inside until last night in the little Flamin' Hot Cheeto song. It was kind of a bop. It was very short, but performance was good. And Becky G, I only really know her from playing the Yellow Ranger in the Power Rangers movie that came out in like 2017, 2018.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I thought the performance was good, and bringing out the kids is a nice touch. It was like really cute and adorable. Like I thought that went well. I think seeing Billie Eilish and her brother Phineas perform that Barbie song live made me realize why that song probably should have won, because it probably resonates the most emotionally and it goes along with the themes of the movie.
Yes, very much so.
Better. And and with winning, that they ended up winning Best Original Song. It's her second Oscar, their second Oscar. They are the two youngest people to win more than one Academy Award. She is 22 and he's under 30. So
she's only 22. Holy shit.
22, yeah. So that's a record that they broke last night. And everyone in the audience seemed to really like the performance too. They got really emotional about it. But I guess the other Barbie performance was courtesy of Ryan Gosling, and whether or not that was going to be good or not, and it ended up, I think, stealing the show for a lot
I think
of
he delivered,
people
and
that watched.
I didn't anticipate the production, like the theatrics behind that performance, to be as huge as they really were. It was quite an entertaining moment.
Yeah. And they're coming out with more stuff today. So you know how they're just all back and forth, like, he's going to do it, he's going to do it. So I guess they've been talking to him for months. So I think he knew that he was really going to do it.
Okay.
But then they didn't start rehearsing until 4 weeks ago. Some of the actors that are in the movie, like Simu Liu and Ben Kingsley Adair, who are in the overall number, because they're in the movie,
Right.
they were added to the mix a few days ago. So they didn't have a lot of time to rehearse. Slash got involved the day of.
I didn't know what that was all about.
Slash is from the 80s. He's a guitar player from Guns N' Roses, so he's a really well-known.
Him,
so, like,
I know. I didn't know what he was doing up there, though.
He was kind of like just thrown in. I mean, guitar player has a guitar solo, I guess. So they were like, let's do it. But he was thrown in last minute and rehearsed with them very last minute. I guess Eddie Van Halen's son, he was also one of the guitar players in that number as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So that was pretty cool. It was Ryan Gosling's idea to kind of make it a riff on Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend from Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. So, like, if you look at images of that movie with Marilyn Monroe and all the like guys dancing around her while she's in pink, it's very similar to what they did on stage.
I see.
To that as well.
On that connection. Okay.
Greta Gerwig, she had some input, but it basically was like, I just want the crowd to get on their feet and really enjoy it. So that was the idea of kind of making it kind of like a karaoke thing with the words on the screens in the auditorium, and so people could sing along. He really wanted the whole Margot America Greta thing where he would go down in the audience and they would sing with him. He wanted that for them. And he also planned to have that one little singing woman with Emma Stone because they've been in movies together and they were in La La Land together.
Yeah.
So he really cared about it. He wanted to have fun with it. And this choreographer, Mandy Moore, not that Mandy Moore, not the singer actress, but different choreographer Mandy Moore. She said that backstage, like, he was just like any actor was like, how did it go? How did they do? And she was like, you're great. Like, can you not hear them? And he's like worrying about whether or not he hit his mark, if he did this right. And they're like, did you not just, I guess when it's you can't really separate yourself.
Yeah.
Right. But he got the crowd on their feet, which is like great because usually those shows are so stuffy and everyone is just seated and not doing anything fun. And that, I think that is what that show needed at that moment. And I love that Martin Scorsese, I think it's his granddaughter, took Instagram stories of him while that performance was going on. Yeah, and he seemed to be enjoying it as well. So that's also fun.
I didn't end up seeing that, but I know his granddaughter is big on TikTok with him and features him in a lot of videos and stuff. And I did notice her as, I'm guessing, his date last night. That's really cool.
So yeah, I thought it was fun. And like, hey, he didn't win last night, but I think he won the night. If I had to like pick someone that like overall, I mean, it really seems like it's interesting because we're doing a deep dive of First Man later this week.
Oh,
and I rewatched
nice.
and I rewatched it this morning, and
that movie's so awesome.
But it's interesting to see like him in this phase of his career where he's having a lot more fun compared to like what I watched today, which is a good movie and he's great in it. But definitely, he's having a lot more fun, it seems now, career-wise, like just doing different things.
Exactly.
And you kind of got the culmination of that with that performance as well. So I thought it was really good and kind of a highlight of the night. And best original song, the one that Billie Eilish won for, that was the only Oscar that Barbie won last night. And everyone kind of figured that was going to be I thought they were going to at least have 3. It would be that one and then production design and costumes, but nope, just for the song. But it seemed like Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach and Margot Robbie, all of them were having fun. I think they're like, our movie made like $1.4 billion. It was a cultural movement.
100%.
What else could you want at that point?
Exactly. And still got recognized with 8 nominations too, which no doubt,
including a Best Picture nomination, right? So
exactly.
So I thought that was a nice little fitting into their award season. Like, this is going to be the last we hear of that movie for a really long time.
And the Barbenheimer rivalry too are now all settled up. final tally.
Yeah, and I thought that bit was fun too. Actually, when when Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt were kind of trading insults back and forth,
yeah,
because I think they're both naturally funny. Yeah,
definitely. I think it's also interesting now that we kind of it'll make for good conversations still going forward on who the victor of the Barbenheimer rivalry is, because no doubt, obviously, box office wise, Barbie, sorry,
yeah,
definitely eclipse Oppenheimer, but now Oppenheimer has the awards tally on its side now too. So
yeah,
depending on which way you look at it, I think they almost sort of tie in a way.
yeah.
But great for both movies getting recognized and successful in their own ways. I'm honestly not going to lie, I'm a little grateful that we won't be hearing all about that rivalry going forward. It's nice that it's kind of put to bed. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
It's like,
no, I mean, it was good. We needed it last summer, and it was fun.
Definitely, yeah. It was good while it was here. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a nice little groundswell that the internet created, because both studios didn't create that. It was really the internet that did it, and it was fun. And then, of course, when the trades jumped on it and made it like a thing throughout award season, I got old. But yeah, I'm glad it's over, and I'm glad they were both able to poke fun at it. And they're in a movie together, The Fall Guy.
So Fall Guy coming out,
yeah. So that, I thought the whole thing was fun. Now, since we're talking about that moment, I want to ask you, because they did that. That was before they introduced this whole montage about stunt performers and everything, and a lot of people were upset because they introduced a new category. I think it's going to be next year where they have an award for like best casting or something like that.
Sweet, I love that.
Which is a good award to have, because like it takes effort and talent to put a cast together. But a lot of people have been fighting for some kind of stunt Oscar recognition, and we still don't have one yet. And a lot of people in that community thought that a short 2-minute, if that, montage celebrating stunts felt more like an insult rather than like a
tease, right?
Yeah. And then and I agree. It's crazy to me that stunts haven't been acknowledged the way they should be by the Academy with its own award yet. And I'm not saying that casting isn't deserving of that. I'm just wondering why it's taken this long to even put it up for consideration. And that's what the complaint was with that montage. Even though I guess they were like, hey, they probably thought the Academy were going to be like, oh, well, we're acknowledging that stunts are important, but I think it showed more that how absent they are from that ceremony.
Absolutely.
When these people really risk their lives to create something that's realistic for the audience. So, yeah, I understand why there would be a little backlash. I was wondering what you kind of thought.
I was reveling at that montage of all the stunts. Like Cam and I, we were watching together, and we were pointing out the movies as the stunts from the movie was being shown in its little window, which was always fun to do. But I had the feeling too while watching that they are going to be teasing the entry of a stunt category at next year's awards. So when that didn't happen, I was like, okay, this is definitely a tease with no follow through, which is annoying. But I don't think I would be foolish not to recognize the support for a stunt category to be implemented into the Oscars. I still think there's time to do it next year, just because they announced a casting one. I not that I know anything about how much advance notice they need to give to prep something like that in a future award show, but I feel like it's not impossible for that still to happen, if not next year, maybe the following year, because without a doubt, I'm sure this was in conversation before, but it feels like John Wick 4, even the series as a whole, has really catapulted the conversation behind a stunt category. So I think it could still, while it's a hot topic. I think that hot in the sense that popular. I think it'd be possible to see, and if enough people rally behind it and give enough attention to it, I think the Academy would reciprocate and put it in there. I think it'd be great to see a not a poll, but a consensus and sort of get people to sign on and in agreement. And what do you call that?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I get what you're
Jeez, what am I?
I forget the name of the letter.
You're you know what I'm talking about. That would be a petition. A petition.
But here we go.
That would be sweet to have something like that be popular and be submitted to the Academy, so that they could really just put a number on it and quantify how many people would support that category being put in there. Do we just off the top of my head, do you know when the last category, the most recent addition to the Oscars was, and what the
I
award was?
I don't want to be wrong. I think it's animated feature, but let me look it up really
Oh,
quick.
okay. Which would have been like entered in there in like with the 90s or the 2000s, probably.
Probably, yeah. That'd be interesting. I think it might have been that, but let me.
And I know some of them have changed their name too.
So it's the first category the casting is the first one they've done in 20 years, and I think it is the animated feature category. Just want to make sure. Yeah, it looks like it.
Okay.
And the first one in 20 years. That's crazy.
Sweet. Okay.
In more than 20 years, actually.
Yeah,
but still, that's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a long time between like not having a stunt category
and
though.
I never would have thought about a casting award. Hearing it, I'm like, oh, that makes total sense that there would be an award for that, considering like the work that goes behind it. And when you see a cast come together and it really pay off, and especially when many performances from a movie are nominated, it makes sense that casting would be recognized. But now more than ever, it feels like stunts are really left out behind the scenes. So I would love to see that happen. But
I got official numbers for you. So this is the best animated feature was the last one added. It was created in 2001. And then we will get the best casting achievement in casting beginning with the 98th annual Academy Award. So 2 years or a year after the next year ceremony.
Fantastic. Speaking of numbers, I just wanted to ask, are the viewership numbers out yet? Do we know how many people tuned in last night?
19.5 million viewers tuned in. It's only up 4% from last year, but considering how award shows have dwindled, I think that any increase is a win.
Yeah, exactly.
So ABC is probably happy with those numbers. And they really think so. They were saying that Oppenheimer, the first blockbuster movie to win Best Picture, like our highest grossing one since Lord of the Rings, since Return of the King, as far as box office. And a lot of people have made that comment about the award shows, which is why they thought ratings were dwindling, because they're like, you're nominating movies for that people haven't even seen because they are smaller movies and blah blah blah, right? So I mean, 4% isn't a huge increase, but I mean it's still significant enough. I think
small wins, definitely.
Yeah.
On that note, I don't think when it comes to the wins and even the nominations, like I think viewership is just like a secondary factor. Like I think that the winners and the voters should be voting on the movie that they just genuinely think deserves a category, regardless of who they think is going to tune in because of what's nominated. So I think it's important to try and do things to maintain viewership, but not at the expense of just giving out an award to movies that they think are going to lead to more viewership in the future. I hope that never becomes something that we see. But that's interesting. That's good news that it's increased. I when you said the number, I had no idea what last year's numbers were, but that's nice that it went up.
Yeah. And it was nice to see because I thought they were going to kick the fucking dog out from Anatomy of Fall that Messi got to go.
Yeah, I was surprised to see him there.
That story from and I thought that I was like, what? Like, begrudging was at that awards luncheon that was like, oh, the dog's here and he's gonna affect votes, so he can't come to the I was like, who said that? But it was in the Variety story that someone complained about the dog being at the Oscar luncheon. The Oscar luncheon, for everyone doesn't know, is all the people get together. They basically take the big Oscar kind of class photo, almost with all the nominees together, and it's for them to kind of mix and mingle. And Messi the dog was there because apparently the dog was trained to do his big moment in Anatomy of Fall, where I didn't even think about it being a real dog during this. I don't want to give it away just because people didn't see it, but I don't know how the movie's not that old,
right? I see. I know what you're saying, at least. So
you know what I'm saying. So I didn't know that it was a real dog, and they actually trained the dog to have the reaction that it has in the movie, and wow. I was like, well, kudos to Messi. And they let the little dog from the artist go that time that movie was nominated. So I was like, why couldn't Messi go? And because somebody, I just can't imagine someone being so upset that this dog was at the luncheon and was like, he's take, because they hadn't finished voting yet.
Okay, that's
so
what I was going to
felt
follow up and ask you is if voting had
that this
occurred.
cute dog, they were like, this cute dog's there and he's going to affect the way people
Cute
vote.
and
I was like,
talented
no.
dog. That dog actually gives a genuinely good performance in Anatomy of a Fall.
Yeah. And one of my buddies texted me because he was watching it too. And he was like, okay, it's cute and all of the dogs there, but like, would you want to be the one that's sitting next to the dog just in case, what if the dog's not totally trained? Like, what if he's like, oh, he pooped? All right, I don't know. Like something like that.
Oh, I would I'd be honored to sit by Messi if I were there. And I'm allergic to dogs, so that says a lot. I think that'd be awesome. I can't remember. I did see him. The camera shone on him a couple times. I can't remember who was sitting next to him. I'm guessing like the owner or a handler or something.
I'm guessing, yeah, handler or something. I thought it was really funny when they did the whole when Robert Downey Jr. I think won, or they
the applause.
Yeah. I thought that was funny, and it looks like a really well-behaved dog. All the behind-the-scenes video of him sitting in his seat, it doesn't look like the dog's agitated. It just like knows what he hits his mark, knows what he needs to do. And I can't believe there was even an issue for a second that the dog couldn't go. But I'm glad they changed their minds.
Me too. I want to touch on this just because, like, so behind the scenes, you and I were messaging. You sent me a link or an article of Messi was. So before the show, I was under the impression the last thing that I had seen in regards to the decision on if Messi was going to be allowed to attend was something that you'd sent me, and it was the consensus was that it was revoked, that the dog would not be in attendance at the Oscars. So
right, that was the last thing I heard. Yeah.
So seeing him there, I was like, oh, that's awesome. Apparently this was rescinded. But my question was, and I guess you kind of helped clarify it with the lunch and stuff. So the voting was still ongoing. But my question is, whoever or however many people, maybe it wasn't just one person that took issue, but did the person or persons that had an issue with the dog attending, it was under the premise that it would positively skew the chances of Anatomy of a Fall winning in the categories it was nominated for. Was it not considered that the voting would have been done by the time the dog was in its seat at the show? I don't see how that would have been overlooked. Like, obviously this is not going to affect the outcome of the voting because it's already done by the time the show is there. So I didn't understand what the controversy was at the time.
I guess like during the lunch, so I guess they felt at the luncheon because voting wasn't completed yet that the dog's presence, since everyone hadn't voted yet, someone would see the dog and they would be like, "Oh, that's adorable. Let's look at that movie again. I mean, wait, maybe there's something we missed, or let's just vote for the cute dog." And
I suppose
I don't think anyone in the Academy. There might be some. I don't want to speak for them, but I honestly, if I was an Academy member, I would be like, "That's awesome, the dog is here," but that would not sway my vote to like vote.
No, exactly.
The movie that it was in. Now, every star at the luncheon. Now, you could tell that this was a studio person or producer because every movie star at the luncheon, there are multiple stars from that luncheon that took pictures with the dog. Like Ryan Gosling took a bunch of pictures of the dog. Like they were all happy he was there.
Nice.
And I guess he was also recognized at the Fido Awards in London over the weekend. So he also got
Fido Awards.
He also got acknowledgement for his performance in Anatomy of Fall. So I mean, he had a little run, and I guess the owners of the dog are so surprised that this has kind of become like a huge thing, because they make this kind of movie isolated, it's a French movie, all that stuff. So they make it's different when they make movies here where they're these big events. So like some of the times, like in other places, they are more isolated things, and you make your movie and that's it, and that's all you kind of care about. And they said that since the movie's caught on, and this is a movie that caught on, I think later in the run of award season. They said the more it caught on, more people were like, the dog is pretty good, and they thought they were kind of joking, but it's like dog was good. I mean, in the one moment that especially the dog is really good, and
absolutely,
I thought it was, and I think it's endearing to have stuff like that. I mean, like it's like if you would have to, I mean, if it was a cat, maybe I'd be like, yeah, I don't want the cat there. But like if it was
for sure, cats are harder to control and train too, no doubt. But
they put a bow tie on him. Come on.
Yeah, what's not to love?
Yeah, I thought that was great, and I think that's another bit that I thought worked too was the whole John Cena presenting the best costume design award. Again, I thought that was funny, and it was a callback to what happened 50 years ago when there was a streaker on stage, and I thought that was kind of a good little callback. And John Cena, if anything, he clearly is down to make fun of himself or be the butt of a joke or look like a fool, and I think admirable. So I thought that
For
worked
sure.
pretty well.
And it was
Yeah.
nice that, I mean, it was being played up quite a bit, and I like that off camera on the stage. I think it was Jimmy Kimmel helped him into a dress,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
That
yeah,
was a
yeah.
nice touch, I guess,
Yeah.
for the end of that little bit. I
Yeah.
was thinking that he was going to announce it from behind his little cover there before he actually
Yeah, yeah.
shuffled on stage. I was like, what's going on here? I kind of a, sorry for the pun, but a ballsy move for on
Yeah.
the showrunner's behalf, like getting him out there naked. But yeah, funny moment for sure. One of a couple. I was kind of split on the humorous parts. Some of
Yeah,
them
I was
just
gonna ask you like what worked for you. I know there was one that we talked about, which is the Octavia Spencer and Melissa McCarthy. I think they were doing best adapted screenplay
yes,
first, and other ceremonies have done this since the strike ended, where they are doing a screenwriting award and they make a joke about like why writers are important and why we need them and why you can't just make up stuff on the fly. And some of those jokes have worked elsewhere. And they're friends. I mean, I thought they would have like good chemistry, like riffing off each other. It just wasn't funny. It was like
no.
it actually I got like secondhand embarrassment actually watching
So
it.
did I. I was like, let's
So,
wrap this up. Like, I need this bit to end because I'm cringing,
yeah,
and I didn't. But it did have that. I'm sure the intended effect was, like you said, to showcase how important having good material is, like in
yeah,
the sense of having good writers. So if that was script, which I'm guessing it must have been, or partly scripted at least, for them to have an intentionally awkward dialogue together on screen,
yeah,
then that makes sense. I get what they were going for if that was the intention, to showcase how important good writing is, and how people can deliver it.
yeah,
However, it was still tough to watch, and I was like, I
yeah.
messaged you right away. I was like, this is they're making for a
Yeah,
hard
no, it
watch
was
right
making it
now.
was making me uncomfortable. I was like, oh, I was
Yeah,
like, it was going on way too long, and I was
it
like,
depends.
just
Yeah,
end it now.
subtly smart though, if that is what the intended
Yeah,
message was. Yeah, so maybe it
yeah,
actually worked out, and did what they were trying to do. But God, was it tough.
yeah.
What
And then on the
else?
opposite end of that, though, what I thought actually did work presenting wise, because for some people when they're watching the show, like categories like documentary feature, that's when some people tune out because it's like I don't know. Some people don't, and this is more like of our ignorance, audience ignorance, rather than like these features not being interesting. Like sometimes I myself included don't take the time to seek them out, and I probably should.
Same.
Um,
It's hard though.
but I think the good thing about making the presenting of an award like that funny is that at least it puts attention on it before an award like that comes up. That's why I thought the Kate McKinnon thing with America Ferrera thing was funny about documentary features
Hmm.
when America Ferrera is naming all these legitimate documentaries, and then Kate McKinnon just says like Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, like
Right.
Jurassic World Dominion, and she's like, no, those aren't documentaries. And I think it got even funnier when she like she was like Dr. Spielberg. Is this true? And
Yeah.
he's just like not like I love that he was just in on jokes too.
In
I think
on
there
it.
were
Yeah, for sure.
I think there were a couple of them where they went at him and like, and then the whole thing about like, well, is Jeff Goldblum real? And then that whole thing about they're like, well, no. And then she's like, well, who have I been sending my tasteful nudes to? And then Steven Spielberg was just kind of like nodding his head like me. Yeah, so I thought that
Yeah.
was funny.
I
Like,
wish Jeff
but
Goldblum was there in the crowd. I'm guessing he wasn't because the camera didn't pan to him, but that would have been nice to
yeah.
see.
So I
Um,
thought that was funny for the most part, and it kind of helped with making that like paying attention. It may help you pay attention to that category a bit more than if it was just kind of a boring like riff between two actors being like a
right.
documentary is blah 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 blah. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good point because we don't need to be. There's
yeah,
only so many ways, and at the 96th awards, you can only mention the. I guess obviously documentary probably hasn't been around all 96 years, but you can only glaze a certain style of filmmaking in so many different ways before you kind of just got to take a new approach. So I guess I
right.
get that too.
And I do
Um,
respect that they put all these categories back in the live show. I think it was last year where they
oh
took
yeah, I
some of these
forgot about
categories
that.
out.
That's
They took
right.
some of these categories out, basically trying to imply that like these are the ones that wouldn't be like priority for an audience to watch live,
Bad taste decision for sure.
and they got real backlash for that. So I was happy that all 23 categories were present and accounted for during the live show. So,
Here's one.
because if anything, if you don't even like that category, if you're watching it live, go step out of your room and go get a snack. Like you don't have they can still
Yeah,
air it. Like
exactly.
don't worry about like what we're doing. I'm like, yeah, I'm not into that. I'll go take a break. So there you
Exactly.
go.
one thing I didn't love about this year's ceremony, and after watching a video or two today recapping the ceremony, I have come to understand this isn't the first time the Academy has done this, but first time that I have ever remember seeing it. Having previous winners of the acting awards sort of present the nominees and announce the winner. Instead of the important part here being instead of showcasing a scene of that actor in their respective performance. Really did not dig that. It was cool to see like Nicolas Cage though, and geez, I can't even remember Tim Robbins and a few of the other
Tim
performers.
Robbins, like Matthew McConaughey, and
that was great for them to be there.
I didn't even know Mary Steenburgen had won an Oscar when she was up there with like the other ladies from that category. I was like, when did Mary Steenburgen win? I was like, oh, good for that. I didn't know that, and like, it was good to see like Jessica Lange and like there was like a lot of cool. So I like the idea because they did it 15 years ago. And
was that right? Okay.
Yeah, and I like the idea of the whole like passing of the torch.
I like that, but showcase their performance. Like that's like one of my favorite moments of the Oscars every year is watching scenes from the actual movie. And maybe like for me, it's great for the performances that I haven't seen to get a little shot of what went into that.
Yeah, are you like, is this like the moment that they chose?
It's a highlight.
Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
So to not have that really felt absent. That bothered me. And it took me a while to realize they weren't doing that.
I heard mixed things about it. I heard some people that liked it. Some people wish they would have done a mix of that. You could have done that and also shown clips, but I guess it would have gone long. Some people thought it was kind of like a little bit of ass kissing, like having
some
someone's
like
friend
that more than others. Yeah.
Like Jamie Lee Curtis and Jodie Foster are tight. They're best friends. She's been campaigning for all season for Nyad movie, and nothing wrong with that. Like it does come off a little bit like you're pandering a little bit. And and you could tell some of those girls up there, or even guys up there, may not like known the person personally, and they just have to talk about but that's I like the idea of it, and it was cool seeing them all up there, and then like the images from when they won their awards, like in the background. It's cool. I wanted clips too. I guess the only clips we really got were when they were showcasing the Best Picture nominees throughout the night.
Yes.
And I'm glad they did it that way after each commercial break. Someone did the timing on it, because usually on the show they would come out, there would be someone from the film that like introduces each Best Picture nominee for the evening.
Right.
And they said that the way they did it this year probably saved them like 25 minutes just doing it after each commercial break. So nice. I was fine with that. I have now I hate to skip to this, but it's only because we were talking about the whole like Best Pictures thing. Usually what happens is, even though they showcase all the nominees throughout the night, the person that does the Best Picture award at the end of the night still lists all of them again, all 5 or all 10.
Right.
That did not happen last night. Everyone was blaming Al Pacino for this last night, but apparently today he said it was a producer's choice for him to just like say the winner, which I can agree with, but I don't know if they expect him to say it the way that he did it. So I'm still putting half of this on Al Pacino.
Sure.
What did he say? Like, my eyes see Oppenheimer.
I literally couldn't decipher what he was saying until I saw it. I saw like a meme, or not a meme, but like a GIF rather, a GIF of him opening the card, and then it had the text saying, "My eyes see Oppenheimer," and I was like, finally, I didn't know what he was saying. I know that he was announcing Oppenheimer, but a little "and the Oscar goes to" would have went a long way in that moment. I love that Pacino. I was glad that he was there that night. Guy is looking his age now, though. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I know. I mean, my buddy David, I was like exchanging messages with him. I was like, all right, we need to stop I know they're legends, but we need to stop letting old people read the last award of the night. Or if we're going to let old people do it, don't let them drink or anything beforehand. Because I was like, he seemed kind of drunkish or something. Was
I thought he looked sleepy.
Or maybe he got confused. Maybe it was a last minute thing where the producer's like, hey, we're not going to read all of them. And they just kind of pushed him out there, and it could have been the confusion thing. I don't know, but like,
the guy's like 80 years old too. Like,
yeah, I mean, I don't think it's completely took away from the moment of Oppenheimer winning Best Picture.
No.
There was this momentary like pause of like, you could tell the audience didn't really know what to do either, and the reactions were a little delayed with the clapping and all that. But at the end of the day, our choice for Best Picture did win, and that was nice to see.
Absolutely.
And to go along with that, Christopher Nolan is now a 2-time Oscar winner because he was producer on Oppenheimer, and he won Best Director, like we all thought he would.
100%.
What I
Huge
am
moment.
hearing today is that they believe that the gap between Oppenheimer and the rest of the Best Picture nominees was huge. Like there was
Really?
no way Oppenheimer was going to lose. They said the
Okay.
closest runner-up that they believe the closest runner-up was Poor Things, and they don't even think it was like that close.
Okay. Wow.
Like they believe that everything else kind of was like split like a bunch of small votes towards the bottom, but
Okay.
it was always going to be Oppenheimer, and that has been shaping up to be that way for a really long time. But the Academy did love Poor Things. I think more than people thought. I think a lot of people thought because it's weird that they probably were going to be turned off by it, and
Right.
they weren't as turned off by it as people believed. But I think it was interesting to know that the gap was probably huge between Oppenheimer and the rest of the bunch.
Okay. I guess I'm
whether or
not
not the gap
shocked.
Whether or not, I was wondering whether or not that gap should have been that big. I mean, I don't love necessarily when it's an obvious winner, but I mean, I was also happy that it won.
Yeah. Same. It would have made for a more interesting show if it wasn't so predictable. Like even though we got a few wrong, a lot of these categories we predicted right, which is nice to see the picture you want to win an award in a certain category. It is nice to have a toss up for more categories. There's only really a few that were, really, really unpredictable. But I thought, in the interest of time, before we really wrap things up, it'd be nice to go through all the list of the winners last night. There's several we didn't touch on yet in our conversation. So, not sure how you want to approach it. Do you have your Oscar ballot, your Rotten Tomatoes Oscar ballot in front of you?
Yeah, I have it in front of me. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want to just rattle them off? We'll go one by one, top to bottom.
Let me see. Which ones did we? I'm trying to see. I know that we touched on some briefly, but I'm just going to make sure I don't repeat myself.
I guess we could recap too if we just rapid fire through it.
Just want to make sure I have it pulled up. Sorry.
I guess you can mention too if you got it correct or not as well.
Yeah. Okay. So we mentioned like with Best Picture that went to Oppenheimer. That's something that we both got right.
That's right.
That was pretty easy.
Directing, same idea. Yeah.
Christopher Nolan.
We both got right.
We both got right. And I think everyone was very happy to see him win. This morning, I saw a lot of posts saying that they are now happy they can say Academy Award winner Christopher Nolan, and that whenever we see a movie from him in the future, it'll say from Academy Award winner Christopher Nolan.
Just sounds right. Yeah.
Actress in the leading role, we touched on that with Lily Gladstone, Emma Stone. That ended up going to Emma Stone for Poor Things. Again, I actually saw them. They have images of them hugging too after this.
Oh, great!
I think we mentioned that they become friends throughout this whole thing. I don't think it's not personal for them. I think it's more everyone else trying to make it.
I find it odd when people do let it get personal. It's like just celebrate each other.
And I guess Martin Scorsese consoled her too. Like she wasn't like crying or anything, but he went up to her at one point and probably gave her a pep talk about how great she was. So I'm sure she knows, awesome. And she's. I think her Oscar is coming very, very soon.
Definitely.
Actor in the leading role. This is one we haven't talked about. Cillian Murphy won over Paul Giamatti.
How'd you vote on that one?
I went Cillian Murphy, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah, me too.
It was nice to see him win, and Cillian Murphy is not one for these big public, things where he's the center of the attention. You can tell he doesn't really love it. But
that's right. Yeah.
But it was cool that in his speech that he kind of really thanked this kind of long journey he's been on with Christopher Nolan. I mean, being in all these movies and finally getting a shot to lead one and then winning for it. I thought that was cool. I don't know what it was like for you to see him win.
I was ecstatic for him. Yeah, I felt for Paul Giamatti, kind of being overlooked again, but I was ecstatic for Cillian Murphy, and nice to have the prediction come true as well.
Yep. And then what else was the other one? So then we have actress in the supporting role. That was going to be Divine Joy Randolph, no matter what.
No surprise.
We called it. I do want to point out her speech was very, very nice. Actually, it made Paul Giamatti. He was like visibly tearing up during it.
Yeah.
She named her publicist. Well, she didn't name her. They actually named her in the show, but you still couldn't quite hear the person's name. But her name was Marla Farrell.
Okay.
They
nice.
said that Marla Farrell actually put on a great Oscar campaign for Divine Joy Randolph.
Nice.
And she should be recognized for, and I think that's why she wanted to name her and shout her out. That was really, really cool to see. And I thought her speech was really great. Some people were like, well, she didn't thank everyone in like the film and all that, but she's done that all award seasons. So she's won several other things, and she has thanked Dominic Sessa, Paul Giamatti, Alexander Payne. She's thanked all of them. I think at this final one, it's like it's their moment. Let them have it the way they want to have it.
Absolutely.
And I guess Robert Downey Jr. we did talk about.
Yep.
I thought his speech was good, and thought and on brand for him.
Yeah.
I thought the way someone because he called his wife a veterinarian, and some people were like, well, what the hell? But he clarified it that like she basically nursed him back. Like he said he almost came to her like a kind of like straight puppy, basically.
Right.
He had nothing when he got to her, and she rode alongside him until he got better, and now they have this big production company together, and they're kind of a Hollywood power couple, and I think that's great.
Right.
And I thought his speech was good too, and a good example of, hey, you can make fun of yourself, but other people shouldn't probably linger on jokes about you too long.
Definitely.
And he definitely poked fun at his past when he made a comment about like I forgot who he named, but he said that you spent most half of your career basically trying to insure me on movies. And
I think that was his publicist that he was talking about.
Yeah. So that was like a really cool kind of thing.
Definitely.
And what else we have? Original screenplay.
Yeah.
Anatomy of Fall. I did not pick that. I picked Past Lives.
You and I both.
But Anatomy of Fall is a great movie if you haven't seen it. Not just for Messi the Dog. There's a lot of stuff to appreciate about Anatomy of Fall. Adapted screenplay, American Fiction, and you actually, you shared because we're going to be talking about budgets and stuff in a future episode. Cord Jefferson's speech after he won for American Fiction was spot on.
Yes, he was the man for that.
And I got to see him accept an award at the Astor Awards, and he didn't make this that same comment about budgets and stuff, but he did make comments about studios needing to take chances on smaller movies, smaller filmmakers, because you don't know who you might discover. And I'm glad that he said that again last night, basically saying that you don't know who your next Martin Scorsese is going to be, your next Christopher Nolan. Right. And again, it was very important, I think, to say it is a risk to make $200 million movies as well. So instead of doing that, basically divide that number into a small. I thought that was really a good thing to say.
One of the highlights of the night thoughts, for me.
But yeah.
I had never even laid eyes on Cord Jefferson before he was up on stage for the win. And after that, I had this massive respect. I was happy, for him to win. But hearing him say that and shout out the approach to budgeting and studios kind of championing them to take a risk on smaller movies has been stuff that we've been echoing for a while. I'm sure that will come up in our conversation here in another next couple of weeks. So yeah, all the power to him. Cord Jefferson is the man, and now an Oscar-winning screenwriter. So
and he was an Emmy winner before. I guess he wrote on HBO's and did some stuff for HBO's Watchmen limited series. So that's where he's mostly a TV person. So this was his breakout in film, and I'm sure he'll be doing a lot more film now because I think a lot of people want him at this point.
That's fantastic.
He turned a really small movie into a $20 million film. That's how much American Fiction's made. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but given its budget and how small of a movie it was, and it never played in like a mass amount of theaters, that's impressive. So
not to mention it was razor sharp. That movie was awesome.
Yeah, I loved it. These are the ones we talked about, animated feature already. You got that one right. I got that one wrong.
Right, Boy and the Heron.
I definitely screwed up on documentary feature. I did not. I think I picked Four Darts, and that was me just throwing darts.
Yeah, right. I mean, me too. I just happened. My dart happened to hit center target. I got the right one. 20 Days in Mariupol. International feature film. Same can be said. I went with Italy's pick. Got that one wrong. It went to the zone of interest.
And I got that one right.
Nice. Attaboy. I wish I changed that one. Original score, though, I'm sure we both got that one right. I don't think we touched on that. That was a fantastic, a no-brainer. But glad that it won that. And it was great how many times we heard that score play over the night, 7 times, which was great.
Yep.
Original song, I'm sure we both got right, too, with What Was I Made For? Congrats to them. Sound, I can't remember what you said you went for sound. Did you go with
I was Zone of Interest.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah,
okay.
I think a lot of people.
I was confused when you were talking about it. I thought that was where you voted, so we both got that one right.
No. Yeah. Makeup, I actually did go with Poor Things.
Same here.
I almost picked Maestro, but I was like,
I was thinking about it. That would have been a good one for that movie to get if it was going to get something. But yeah, Poor
yeah,
Things.
costume design, and I screwed up there because I thought I was going to go to Barbie.
Yep,
Did
same
not.
here. Went to Poor Things. Exact same. We voted a lot, very similarly on a lot of
Yeah.
categories.
Cinematography, I went with Oppenheimer though, so I got
Yeah,
that
that was a
right.
fuck up on my behalf. I went with Poor Things. Both were shot beautifully. Production
Yeah.
design was as a recap of the costume design category. I think for
Yep.
both of us, we went with Barbie and it went to Poor Things.
Film editing, I got right. I went with Oppenheimer. And that wasn't really a sure thing for me either. I was like, I thought a lot of those could have won.
Yeah,
Granted, I picked Oppenheimer. I will be honest with what I did. I picked it, and then I went online and it was like, okay, what are like a few other people saying for that? And honestly, I can't tell you that it was going one way or the other. There were some people that were going with Poor Things. There were some people that were going with Oppenheimer. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna go with my gut and go with
this
Oppenheimer, and I'm
was
glad I did.
a big category I missed. I went with Anatomy of a Fall for editing. I think my logic was that Oppenheimer was just such a front runner for so many categories that maybe voters would be thinking of ways to highlight other movies. And I was just taking stock of the options, and I was like, fuck, kind of threw a dart. So went with
Yeah,
Anatomy of a Fall, got that one wrong. Visual effects, we both got right. We already covered that, right? Godzilla -1.
yeah,
Probably the highlight of the ones that like weren't such a shoe in. Like obviously, like Best Picture, Best Director for those for Nolan and Oppenheimer was
yeah.
highlight moments, but I was like ecstatic for Godzilla when it won visual effects. So very big moment from last night for me.
Documentary short subject I got wrong, but I do want to shout out. So I don't know this person personally, but the person that one of the people that won on the last repair shop, his wife Brienne Nicole used to be on. This is gonna be like, used to be on General Hospital with my friend Ryan Pavey. They were on General Hospital together for 4
No
years,
way. Oh,
and he actually shared that on his Instagram because he had a lot of scenes with her back when he was on General Hospital, and
cool.
was really excited for her husband to win. This is the second time he actually has won for doing these kind of short subjects, which is really cool.
Sweet. What did you vote for that
And
category? Just out of curiosity.
I did not vote for the last repair shop. I didn't know that he did it. If I think I would have known if like someone was adjacent to someone I knew that did it.
Oh, okay,
I
yeah.
went with I picked the ABCs of book burning. This was another thing where it was like dart board.
Yeah, my dart landed on Island in Between because I thought it sounded kind of cool. So that was why
Yeah.
I voted that one.
And then short film live action. I think they went to The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, which it gave Wes Anderson his first ever Oscar.
And he
Which
wasn't
is
there. That pissed me
I
off.
guess he's filming a movie. So good excuse. I think that's why a lot
Yeah.
of people weren't there. I think Leonardo DiCaprio is shooting the
Paul
P.T.
Thomas
Anderson movie,
Anderson's.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
And movie right now. That's why he wasn't there because a lot of people were like, "Why wasn't he supporting the movie he was in?" But I think he was busy, and so was Wes Anderson. But he did release a statement saying how happy he was that he
Oh,
won.
nice. That's great. I
So
would
no,
have
so
loved for him to have been there because that's such a huge moment. He should have won an Oscar or at least been nominated more long before. But I did actually, just because I was familiar with the movie, I did select that one. So I was got lucky
you got that
there.
one right. Good.
Yeah. Yeah. What
Yep.
about you? Where'd you vote?
Uh, I have Knight of Fortune again. Dart.
Dart. Yeah.
And,
Say in the last category was a dart for me as well. I threw it at Letter to a Pig, and
oh,
it
so did I. That's where my
oh
dart landed.
nice. Ended up going to War Is Over. I don't know if this is
uh,
part of the title, but inspired
oh
by
yeah,
the
inspired
music
by
of John and Yoko.
Yoko. Yeah, and one of the people that presented or that accepted was John Lennon's son, Sean
Oh,
Lennon.
cool.
So that was pretty
Sean and
cool.
John Lennon, eh?
Yeah.
That's funny.
And that's all the categories, and that's all 23.
Yeah.
So yes, I guess what I will ask you before we wrap up this. Okay, you've been a part of 2 award seasons down on the show. One last year, you kind of got in the middle of it. You weren't with it from the beginning. With this one,
Right.
you got to watch it from the start of it. I guess the start of it would have been during this summer-ish with like Oppenheimer and all that, and through the
Yes.
fall. So what was it like kind of being with it? And you got to watch all the nominated movies, all of them this year.
Yeah, that was the highlight, like actually going out of my way to see all of the Best Picture nominees. I'm glad I had done that. Wish I had done that years before. We'll definitely be doing that going forward. Even then, I would like to just see as many of the nominees in all the other categories as possible, including like performances. But live and learn. I'll probably start doing that. big shout out to you. I was only able to see as many of these movies as I was because you were able to share them with me, which was fantastic, much appreciated.
Yes, no
um
problem.
and I honestly, beyond the Golden Globes and like a couple of other like the BAFTAs, for instance, I would kind of tune in a little bit prior to this year, but going over some of those other preliminary award
All
shows
these like
was,
Critics' Choice and all that
yeah,
other,
it
all
was
the
interesting to
small ones.
see how they all operate and to compare how they all shape up with each other in terms of how accurate they are in predicting what the Oscar would go to. That was a lot of fun too. There were way more than I even realized there were. I never really had a full sense of what the awards season really was like,
Yeah.
but it was great to be a part of from start to finish.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now are you glad it's over?
Yeah, it's one of those things like the Christmas season. Like, I'm glad it's here, but I'm ready to dive into the next. It's here. It's special for a reason. If it went on all the time, it would be dull. So I'm excited for
Yeah.
next year's already. I think there's going to be a lot of great um contenders. I don't know. Have we? I should know this. Have we already? We haven't made our Best Picture nominees from or predictions for
Uh,
next year, have we?
no, not really. I guess everyone right now, Dune Part 2 is going to be on their list. That's one of them already.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, we can do that for like a kind of like a preliminary,
Yeah.
based on what we know and what is coming out. And of course, we don't know everything about like the festival season. There's still some stuff that might get snatched up by studios in
Yeah.
the fall. But yeah, we could do like a little and see how accurate we are to
For
guess
sure.
what'll be nominated. I'm glad it's over too. It's fun.
Yeah,
It's
definitely. But
certainly
it's
fun.
taxing.
I th- I think my problem with I think I wish the Oscars was sooner because like it being March, like we're already well into not well into the new year, but well enough where it's like I wanted to focus on like the newer movies that are coming out, and it was
Right.
weird to still be talking about as much as I love them, like Oppenheimer and Barbie. Uh,
Yeah.
I am happy that certain movies like Past Lives and Anatomy of Fall got like this surge later in the year though, because they were definitely I had heard of them but didn't take the time to see them,
Hmm.
and I think that's what a lot of people had that same problem too, where they heard about it but they didn't really take the effort to see them, and I'm so in that sense I'm glad it's a little
Hmm.
there's more time to watch everything. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, it's March 11th now, the day after it's all been done. And
Right.
I feel like we should have been well into talking about like this year's movies, and we are still talking about movies from last year. But maybe that's a little nitpicky,
Hmm.
it.
Yeah,
But
maybe,
I
but
think
whatever.
I mean,
Valid.
February seems like it'd be a good time to have them.
I
Like
think
even if
so
we had,
too.
I mean, I guess like you don't want to compete with like the Super Bowl and all that. So I mean, I know that you have to like
Ooh,
schedule
true.
these things out in a really interesting way, but I don't know. March seems late
It
to
is
do
late.
it.
I've always felt the same way. But let me leave you on this final question. What would you rate the ceremony from last night in total, as a grade or a letter score, whatever you want, and I'll try and match that.
Okay. I'll give it a B plus overall.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I was saying. I was
Yeah.
thinking 8 out of 10 or B plus is kind of where I was
Yeah.
leaning.
Yeah. I thought it did what it needed to do. And I if anything, I hope that it segues into more impressive ways to do the show next year. Like take what worked
Yeah.
about and not even just the approach of the day of the ceremony, but leading up to it, like what the marketing of it. Like, I think it's important for the show and the producers of the show to really pay attention to what movies are going to be showcased during the ceremony, so they can build the marketing around that to kind
Hmm.
of build interest from people who are cinephiles, but also people who are just casually like, I might want to tune in. I think all that's important. I think you shouldn't just cater it to a cinephile audience, even though there are some people that are like, hey, that award ceremony is for us.
Right.
But it can't always be like that because some people are still casually interested. Like I have girlfriends that only watched it because they cared about who was wearing what, and they watched
Yeah.
all hours of it. And they
Right.
were like, they were more invested in the red carpet, which I thought was funny that you messaged me offline. Like you said, it was the first like red carpet you watch like fully,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's cringy at times. Like it's
And
like
I did not expect it to be, but it really was.
as you could tell, like some of those people interviewing them and like they even see some of the movies, and their questions are just very like easy, low hanging. Like, so you're in a
Mm.
thing. How do you feel about being in that thing? And like it's really awkward.
Really
Um,
groundbreaking here questions. Yeah.
but yeah, that's what I would hope that they do. Just learn from what they got right, and hopefully they improve on it even more. And
Agreed.
do I want Jimmy Kimmel back? Like he's safe and it's fine. So if he came
Bring
back, I'd be
John
fine with that.
Mulaney. I thought he was great
So
last
again,
night. Yeah, so
someone
many
made a
people.
point about that. That
Yeah,
his breakdown of Field of Dreams was
it
pretty
was funny.
spot on
He's
and
got a
really
good
funny.
charisma, I think, to host something like that. I would like to give him a shot, see how he does.
It almost felt like an audition right
Yeah,
there on the
it
spot.
did. Hopefully,
That's what it felt
people
like.
are listening, and because he got a lot of praise. I mean, maybe his
Yeah,
brand of humor obviously probably wouldn't resonate with everybody, but I thought he had exactly what the flair that the Oscars would really benefit from
yeah.
having him as a
They
host.
need comedic chops are important. I mean, that's why I loved when Tina Fey and Amy Poehler were hosting the Golden Globes for a bit. They had like a string of doing that, and like they're funny. They're writers on top of that. So not only are they comedians, but they write. And yeah, I think
Mm-hmm.
you need a combination of talents to do it. You have to be funny. You have to know how to write material. You also have to like take when something doesn't work and immediately go to the next thing and not
Right.
take it personally. I can even tell like there were certain jokes from Jimmy Kimmel that didn't get like huge laughs, but he just moved on. He didn't linger on it.
Yeah,
He didn't
he's
like
good at
like
that
when
sort of thing. Yeah.
when it happened with Joe Coy, he almost got mad at the audience and then he blamed his writers for it. So
Yeah, exactly how
that
you
didn't
do not host an award show or
that
anything.
didn't happen last night.
No.
So yeah, I was happy with it overall. I think
Yeah,
you
good.
know, and that seems like you were too, and I thought it was a good celebration of those movies. But yeah, I am glad that it's done, so
Mm-hmm.
we can also focus on other stuff too. um,
Exactly. It's refreshing.
uh,
Excited to see all the other movies that 2024 has to offer.
yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else from the show that.
I think we covered everything that I had written down.
Yeah, I think that was pretty
Yeah.
much it. It
Good
was a
show.
nice show. It didn't go too long. I mean, I guess it was long, but it didn't feel it. That was the most important thing. It didn't drag, and it didn't feel like. I guess some people complain about the in memoriam segment.
Yeah, as always, they can never get that right. So
They
annoying,
can
but
never. They
whatever.
left some people out, and then some people were very upset about instead of just training the camera on like the images of the people who passed
Who
away,
gives a shit about the
They kept
performers of the
cutting.
song? I don't know
Yeah,
why. Who cares?
yeah. I
So
thought that was
weird.
a poor decision on their part, and then of
Yeah.
course they left some people out, but that happens every year.
Well, they have the
Um,
full in memoriam like on their website. I guess it would
yeah,
take
yeah,
too long. It's probably in the interest of time. So I always see that complaint too, but they do at least showcase like they have on the end there, like see the full list of in memoriam
yeah.
on such and such website. But Angus Cloud was, I think, the one that I was looking for that I didn't see. I'm sure there were others too.
Lance Reddick from you know him
Oh my
from
God,
like
what the fuck?
yeah
That's right. I
he was
forgot.
yeah
Oh no.
Treat Williams who just recently passed away, Norman Lear who's a huge legend, I know mostly in television, but
Okay.
was included. I guess what they said that they were relegated to fine print, like you said, like
Yeah.
listed with everyone on the site. um I don't know, I kind of feel like if you're gonna do this, like this happen always gets a lot of shit every year. And I would feel like if I was producing the show that this would be, I would like assign someone, especially to just this part of the show. Like, make
Definitely.
sure you get this right because we tend to get this wrong every year. And like, it may
It
be
needs
like,
some TLC.
yeah, yeah. And it's weird that it never fully does. But,
No.
yeah. But other than that, I thought the show was fun. It was a good time, and I'm glad that the
Absolutely.
viewership went up. I still think these award shows should go strictly to streaming, but that's just me.
Maybe in the future. I would love that too. Make it easier to see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I guess that's it. And that is
that's
this
right.
episode 156.
That is right.
That
Sign
we
us
are wrapping
off.
up Back to the Blockbuster, where we recapped last night's Academy Awards. Please let us know what you also thought about. I know I shared some stuff from G Rolls, but I'd like to hear more what you guys saw of the show so we can share it on our socials as well. A few things I want to mention before we sign off here. You guys chose the 2004 remake of Dawn of the Dead as our your anniversary pick for us to cover for the month of March. So that's going to be added to. We have Heather's and Things I Hate About You, and now Dawn of the Dead. We were both very surprised that you guys didn't
Yeah.
choose the Matrix. The
Happy
Matrix
for it.
overwhelmingly. Which makes me wonder the more we do this, I wonder if we will be surprised each month with what you guys pick. But I'm happy to choose that one because I haven't watched it in a really long time. It's also Zack Snyder's first movie, and to kind of go into that, considering what his career now is and how polarizing he is now, depending on who you are. It'll be interesting to kind of look back on that first movie. I remember loving it, but I haven't watched it in a really long time, so
same boat.
That'll be fun to get into. Then we also have more special episodes coming your way. We do have an AI one that is being scheduled for this week or next week because we have a lot of episodes that we're trying to fit in as well. But that the AI one we already recorded, and we have another fun one that is going to be about the evolution of budgets that'll be coming up after that. And we also are going to do an episode about film criticism as well, whether or not there's any room left for negative film criticism, whether or not it's considered kind of mean spirited at this point, or if there is still a place for it. I'm going to ask a couple people that I work with to maybe join us for that. So I think that'd be kind of cool to get other critics on to see how they feel about it. I know people have really mixed feelings about it. Like, for instance, the Razzies were announced too, and a lot of our trades I work for didn't want to cover them. That, who won worst this and worst that.
Okay.
Because the Razzies are always announced the day before the Oscars. So yeah, I think it's an interesting conversation to have, whether or not it's too mean to be too critical of films, or is it constructive criticism? I mean, I think there's a fine line
for that discussion, definitely,
and that'll be a really fun one. But yes, and we are also building our YouTube page. It's going to be a slowly but surely kind of thing, but some of our videos are up now as well. So if you want to subscribe to Back to the Blockbuster on YouTube, you can do that. We're going to be putting a lot more of our episodes on there. Just more reels from us in general will be on there too. We'll also probably use it as a hub to post upcoming movie trailers and stuff like that as well, to kind of just build the page up. And once we are all caught up, our episodes will be airing or be put on the YouTube channel bi-weekly. So there's going to be like a clump of them that they'll add and over a bi-weekly period of time, so you can actually catch us there or listen to us however you see fit. If you want to just listen to us, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, but you also need to find us on the Playlist Studio app, because they are a podcast network and they are lovely and very good to us. They can be found in the iOS store or the Google Play Store as well. Jackson, thank you for covering all of award season with me. It was a long one, but we got through it. Glad it's
Absolutely. Honored to be here.
And looking forward to talking about other things in the future. And we have something we're going to be talking about in the immediate future, because we were recording an episode right after this, recapping a few news items as well. So look out for that episode too, guys. And until next time, I've been Gaius. He's been Jackson. Peace.
Take care, guys. See you in the next episode.